Have you ever wondered why the price of gas suddenly goes up? Why your local school seems underfunded? Or why that pothole on your street never gets fixed? It might seem like these are all separate issues, but they often trace back to one single, powerful document, the government budget. It sounds a bit dry, I know, but stick with me, because understanding the budget is like having a secret decoder ring for how the world around you really works. So, what is a government budget? Think of it like a household budget, but on a massive scale. It's a plan that details all the money the government expects to collect, mostly from taxes, and lays out exactly how it's going to spend every single dollar. These decisions aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They are choices that reflect a country's priorities and have a direct, tangible impact on your everyday life, often in ways you don't even realize. Let's start with the most obvious one: public services. The quality of our schools, hospitals, and roads is directly tied to budget allocations. When the government decides to increase spending on education, it can mean smaller class sizes, better resources for students, and higher salaries to attract top-tier teachers. On the flip side, a cut in the education budget might lead to larger classes, outdated textbooks, and fewer extracurricular programs. The same logic applies to healthcare. A well-funded healthcare system means shorter wait times at the hospital, better access to modern medical equipment, and enough doctors and nurses to care for everyone. When the budget is squeezed, you might see longer waits for essential procedures or a shortage of certain medications. Even the maintenance of public parks and libraries depends on these annual financial decisions. Now, let's talk about your wallet. The government budget has a huge influence on your cost of living. Take fuel subsidies, for example. When the government helps pay for a portion of the cost of gasoline, it keeps prices at the pump lower for you. But if the government decides to cut those subsidies to reduce its own debt, you'll immediately feel the pinch as fuel prices climb. The same goes for food. Some governments subsidize staple foods like bread or rice to keep them affordable. Changes in these policies can directly affect your grocery bill. Taxes are another major way the budget hits home. To fund all these public services, the government needs revenue. It gets this money by taxing our income, the things we buy, and the property we own. A decision to raise income taxes means less take-home pay for you each month, but it could also mean more funding for those public services we just talked about. A decision to lower taxes might give you more spending money in the short term, but it could lead to cuts in services down the line. It's a constant balancing act, a series of trade-offs between what we pay and what we get in return. Beyond services and costs, budget decisions are also a powerful engine for job creation. Think about major infrastructure projects, building new highways, bridges, airports, or high-speed rail lines. These projects aren't just about convenience. They create thousands of jobs for engineers, construction workers, and support staff. When the government prioritizes investment in infrastructure, it stimulates the economy and puts people to work. Conversely, when spending is cut, public sector jobs may be at risk, and the ripple effect can slow down job growth across the entire economy. And then there's a sneaky, invisible force that the budget can influence: inflation. When a government spends a lot of money, especially if it's funded by borrowing or printing more currency, it injects a huge amount of cash into the economy. This increases demand for goods and services. If the supply of those goods can't keep up with the new demand, prices start to rise. That's inflation. Suddenly, your money doesn't go as far as it used to. The cost of groceries, rent, and everything else creeps up. So, even if you never read a single headline about the national budget, you are feeling its effects every time you go shopping. The budget is also the backbone of our social safety net. Programs like pensions for the elderly, unemployment benefits for those who have lost their jobs, and financial support for low-income families are all funded through the budget. These programs are designed to protect the most vulnerable members of our society, especially during tough economic times. When these budgets are expanded, it provides a crucial lifeline for millions. But when they are cut, the impact is often felt most severely by those who have the least financial security to fall back on. Finally, let's think about the future. Budgeting isn't just about today, it's about setting up the next generation for success. When a government consistently spends more than it collects, it runs a deficit and accumulates debt. A little bit of debt isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if it's used for long-term investments like infrastructure or education. But if the national debt grows too large, it can become a serious problem. Future governments will have to spend a significant portion of their budget just paying off interest on that old debt. This leaves less money for everything else: healthcare, education, and innovation. It's like leaving a massive credit card bill for our children and grandchildren to pay off. Responsible budgeting means balancing today's needs with the long-term financial health of the nation. So, as you can see, the government budget is far more than a political document debated by experts in fancy suits. It's the blueprint for our society. It shapes the world we live in, from the quality of the air we breathe to the opportunities available to our children. It determines whether our communities are safe, whether our economy is growing, and whether our most vulnerable citizens are protected. By understanding how these decisions are made and what their consequences are, we become more informed citizens. We can better understand the difficult trade-offs leaders have to make, and we can hold them accountable for the choices they make on our behalf. The next time you hear about a budget debate, don't just tune it out. Lean in, listen closely, and remember that those numbers represent real choices that will ripple out and touch nearly every aspect of your life. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content that breaks down the big ideas shaping our world. Let me know in the comments which part of the budget's impact surprises you the most. See you in the next video.